racing, folks, and it's a very even start from the entire field.
There's a freight train forming behind him right now. He will be as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I can give you the hot tip. Sideways as a bishop on a chessboard. That was incredible car control.
Oh no, and he's sent it! And he's gone down the inside, and that's a brilliant move.
Going for a bit of an ambitious dive now, and oh, there's contact! Here they come now, around the final turn on the final lap. They're side by side.
Oh, there's contact now. Someone is going to be hitting the showers early tonight, I'll tell you what.
Crosses the line for P1. Brilliant racing, absolutely sensational stuff.
This is heart-pounding. This is nerves-rising. This is sensational TV.
It's round 4 of the ASA Le Mans Ultimate Sprint Series, and the drivers have to navigate their way tonight through the twisting high-speed turns of Circuit Paul Ricard. A track known for being one of the world's most safest tracks can still punish mistakes with extreme speeds these cars will be going, even in these tricky conditions we're currently facing. A lap around this 5.8-kilometre circuit has 15 corners with no two ever the same. Turns 1 and 2 is a tricky blind crescent and blind exit section of corners to start a lap before a short run into the tight complex of Hotel, Camp and Mistral. Pull these corners together and you can get a good run into the biggest braking zone of the circuit into Montreal chicane before the flat out turn 10. The final sector is where one mistake will ruin the sector, as all the corners flow into each other and can not only ruin the sector but the entire lap. Turn 14 is a long left-hander which slowly gets ever tighter, and then it's one last direction change into the final corner and the tightest corner of the circuit. High speed, high intensity, big rewards. It's the ASA Le Mans Ultimate Sprint Series, all live on Sensational TV. Welcome everybody to round 4 of this series. We are here at the circuit with Paul Ricard, and you can see with the windscreen wipers going, it is tricky out there for sure. The drivers will be absolutely in it to try and get the maximum lap time they can despite the greasy conditions at this moment in time. And if we were to just momentarily jump on board, you can see the amount of moisture currently on the cars at the last few moments of this practice session. When the clock hits to 5 minutes, the drivers will be heading into the pit lane for one final drivers briefing before we head straight into qualifying for today's 1 hour sprint. And if you did miss the last round at Spa-Francorchamps, it was a fantastic race. We saw drives from the back to victory, and that was in the hands of Tyson Robbs in the LMGT3 Pro class, and he got that one as well. And then taking a look through the other race winners we had in Spa-Francorchamps, it was for the hypercars Nicholas Cotero who claimed a victory in pretty dominant fashion, actually, because any drivers behind in the end unfortunately had a couple of issues in the race, and meant that he could drive away for that one. And then in the LMP2 he made 3 from 3 so far this season was Christian Granero, so he is on absolute fine form. Can he make it 4 in a row? We're going to have to find out. He's got the conditions to make it a very changing this evening, so let's find out and see how he can go in the LMP2 class. But at the moment in the LMP2 class, he is not leading the way at this point in time. Leading the way in LMP2 is Paul Russell, this guy on your screen at the moment, and Christian Granero is in second position and finds himself only 600ths off of the lap time so far in practice. But you'll see all of the drivers now starting to head into the pit lane before the final drivers briefing. But we're just taking a look at the championship standings at this stage, heading into round 4 here. It is going to be in the Hypercar Pro class, Chris Fraser tied on points with Mohamed Colombo, and then both those guys are leading ahead of Eric Chandra by 13 points. So it is very close in Hypercar Pro. And then in Hypercar Am, it's a bit of a bigger gap with Ricky Packham leading the way by 41 points ahead of Chris Donnelly. In the LMP2, it's Christian Granero leading the way by 41 points ahead of Paul Russell. And then in LMGT3 Pro, Tyson Robbs has also gone 3 for 3 so far this season, leads by 32 points ahead of Harry Smiles. And in the LMGT3 Am class, it's Race for Life leading the way by 11 points ahead of Martin Glastonbury. So we've got a couple of championships with a bit of bigger leads, but for most part we have got ourselves a few drivers at the moment really in a championship hunt, which is going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. With only a few rounds left of this season, we've got Paul Ricard tonight, and then Sebring, and then Le Mans to round out the season. So only 3 races are left in this season for them to try and make a championship charge. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see how this one plays out here tonight, and what storylines to go ahead into round 5 of the season at Sebring when we head to the United States for a 1-hour race, and then in Le Mans it's going to be a 1.5-hour race, so a bit more of a longer sprint race that one is, but still in these vehicles very much a sprint race. So we're going to do a very brief ad break here while the driver's briefing is underway, and we will see you in time for qualifying.
Motto is that safe drivers are lifesavers. If your organisation shares this belief and are planning to improve driver education in your community, SDT Simulator Driver Training has the solution. Many of our simulator users are also gaining a revenue stream by taking their simulators to events and schools for driver education programs. The system can also be set up to run motorsport simulation. Many leading racing drivers are now using simulators to improve their skills. Such software can also be used to show drivers they are not as skilled as they think they are. SDT Simulator Driver Training is a division of Safe Drive Training, one of Asia Pacific's leading driver training providers. We offer affordable driving simulators that are assembled in our Brisbane head office. SDT simulators are now in use across Australia and are expanding into international markets due to their affordable price, unique features, and customization for driver training. Depending on the simulator model being purchased, you will receive a range of training resources to help you to facilitate quality driver education. SDT is the exclusive distributor of Fatal Vision alcohol impairment goggles, marijuana simulation goggles, and drowsy and distracted blinking goggles. All are used to demonstrate the dangers of such impairments on the driver. Also available are driver training posters, driving handbooks, and distracted driving resources. Our simulators make the perfect training tool for drivers to experience how various impairments affect their performance. Contact Simulator Driver Training for more information.
Motorsport isn't just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And when performance matters, you need gear you can trust. That's where ARD Importing comes in. ARD Importing brings world-class racing brands straight to New Zealand, supplying real racers, real teams, and real enthusiasts with proven performance products around the globe. We're talking JRP racing components, ZAMP helmets and safety gear you can rely on the track, Red Cat Racing for high-performance RC action, and intimate brake pads for serious stopping power when it counts most. Keep your engine protected with renewable lubricants, premium oils designed for extreme performance and durability. Turn up the volume with Wicked Audio, delivering powerful sound whenever the road or track takes you. And gear up with Spartan products built for durability, comfort, and race day durability. Whether you're racing dirt, asphalt, or chasing lap times from home, ARD Importing has you covered. Sim racers as well, listen up, ladies and gentlemen, because ARD New Zealand is your importing source for all of Camus Racing sim gear. Precision wheels, professional grade pedals, immersive feedback that puts you right in the driver's seat. Train harder, race smarter, and feel every corner. From real-world racing to the virtual grid, ardimporting.co.New Zealand connects you with elite brands trusted by racers worldwide.
Well, welcome back, and we have gone green for qualifying here, and you can see all of the cars with the windscreen wipers ablaze. So it looks like the conditions have not changed from the practice session, so we are going to be in for a very interesting one to see who is going to be able to find the pace here tonight in the wet weather. We saw a little bit of wet weather in at Silverstone, and it's kind of been a pretty dry since. And so these drivers would have had a chance to practice in both the dry and the wet. But it is definitely going to be time now to see who is going to be able to put down the pace when it matters most here in qualifying, get themselves that prime time positioning for the start of the race. And there's actually a bit of a spin in the background. Who was that? We had a spinner in the LMP2 class. I reckon it was Sam Austin that just went for a bit of a spin there. And you can see in the background once more, there's another hypercar going around. So on these outlaps, the drivers are already finding the limit of the grip, and these tyres would be a little bit cold as well, just to remind everyone as well. So the conditions are definitely not in favour of these cars, and I wonder if anyone is here out trying to see if they can't do it on a set of dries. So let's take a look here, and there is one driver at the moment on the mediums, and that is Mohamed Colombo, who is at the moment tied in the championship lead as well. So he's gone out with a bit of a risk to try and claim here a pole position, but I reckon he's now seen everyone else on the wets, and he's gone to the pit lane because here is the driver who's about to start a flying lap, and it is Steve Lewis in the Porsche hypercar. So he is on the wet weather compound tyres, and in this session as well, if I had not previously mentioned, it is going to be the hypercar and the LMP2 cars out on the circuit to start with. So let's ride on board for a lap of this circuit and see how it's going to play out for these drivers. And we'll bring up the telemetry with the sector time. So turn one here, it is going to be extremely difficult. You can see the weather looks like it's actually a little bit heavier than it was in the practice session, and very tentative on that throttle application. And you can see it also not using full brake pressure, so very tentative on all the inputs and making sure they're not doing anything. You can see with the steering as well, trying not to do too many movements. Once you start doing more than the one steering movement, that is when you start finding yourself in a bit of issues. And you can see once more, very easy on, and you can see the constant up and down of the throttle is the ABS kicking in these cars to try and help them get the power down. And even with the ABS kicking in, you can just see how difficult that really was for him to be able to do that. The throttle blipping as the car shifts down the gears to help the rear tires not chirp away, and it caused a little bit of rear brake locking, and in these conditions rear brake locking is going to be a big issue. They are going to be really making sure they get their brake biases set absolutely perfectly, because you want to be so confident under brakes, and especially in these conditions, the braking is where you can find a heap of a lap time. That corner, turn 10, usually flat out in these cars, and you can see a big lift to go through there. So these conditions showing how little grip there is on offer for the drivers as they continue on with the lap. This is the final sector that I spoke about in the pre-race show, and how difficult it is. And you can see not on the traditional racing line. Generally you want to hit the apex right where that bollard is, just to help you show where the apex is. A lot of bollards actually around this circuit to help find the apexes. Just with how flat this circuit is, there's very little elevation change around this place. So it is just characteristic after characteristic of this circuit that is going to only play against the drivers here. And how is the opening lap here for Steve Lewis? So the first lap that he has done actually hasn't given me a lap time. It's done a 2:05.5 according to the timing here. So let's just see where that one falls for Steve Lewis here as we continue on riding on board. But we're actually going to now jump off board because a few other drivers have been putting in some laps. So Ricky Packham here has fallen into second position and now is 1.2 seconds away, and Matt J. Frost has also found himself currently leading the way in LMP2, and he has got that by some margin as well. So if we were to just quickly head on over to the timings for the LMP2 here, you'll be able to see what lap times have been done. So it's a 2 minute 7.3. We're well and truly off the lap records that have been set in real life for these cars. So the LMP2 lap record around here is a 1 minute 51.2, and that's in real life. In the simulator, it's usually you can go pretty quicker, fairly quicker than what real life does, or it could also be the complete vice versa of you can get nowhere near it depending on the simulator's physics that we've got available to us. But in these conditions, a 2 minute 7 is still a very respectable time, but I am sure they'll be wanting to try and find some more time in amongst that. And just to show how good the lap was for Matt here, he still currently sits 4th in the overall, so a couple of the hypercars around him have not been able to better his lap time, so he is oozing with confidence at the moment. He's got 1.8 seconds over your championship leader of Christian Gennaro, so it is looking like Matt Frost here, at least from his banker, is on an absolute flying times around here, and you can see the sector times here for Christian as well, so not looking as healthy for himself. He's got a good target lap time set of a 2 minute 7.3, which is what Frost has been able to do, but at the moment his best lap time is a 2 minute 9.2, so he's a little bit further away. You can see the conditions seem to be just getting a little bit worse. A bit more water spray is flying around the circuit, so it may have been a case of just trying to get your lap times done as quick as possible. And so as he now falls to 3rd, because Ben Vintner has now been able to eclipse that and put himself up into 2nd in the LMP2 class. Where is this lap time going to fall for Christian here? Is it going to be a improvement for himself? At this stage, it is not. He holds onto that 3rd position, but now more of the hypercar lap times have been coming in. So let's take a look at how all of this is falling around. So Colombo is currently your leader in qualifying. He's on the pole position, and in the background you can see just how much spray is being kicked up from these cars, especially the hypercars with the wet weather tyres that they run. They're going to be picking up a lot more spray than the LMP2 cars, and that is very much visible at this point in time. And his best lap times are 2 minute 5.2, so he's only about 2 seconds quicker than the LMP2 current provisional lap time in this qualifying session. And then in 2nd position is Steve Lewis, as he goes for a bit of a swing, a bit of airtime as well for good measure, and that looks to be on the exit of the Montreal chicane, I believe that is, and he's gone straight to the lane as well to put on maybe some fresh rubber, because he's only got 2 minutes left in this session, so he might be able to go out and quickly squeeze in a lap time if he's absolutely on it. But he is still in 2nd position. Siramana here in 3rd position in the Peugeot. He's got 0.6 of a second to find, but Colombo should be getting pretty close to rounding out a lap time here. So how is this one going to play for himself? He's a bit down in the middle sector, going extremely wide in the penultimate corner. Now the final corner, how is this one going to play out for himself here? It's a pretty short run to the line compared to some of the other circuits that we've been going to so far in this season of the ASA Sprint Series, and it's no improvement for himself. It's still 2 minute 5.2 for himself. So let's take a quick look again at and see how the LMP2 field is going along, because Matt Frost is still your leader in a class and currently sitting 7th overall. So he's still out qualifying at least through 4 of the hypercars at this point in time. So he is definitely on some pace here, as some drivers are showing that their weaknesses here in the wet weather as well. So this is going to prove a very interesting race when we get underway, and by the looks of things it's going to be a wet race start. I don't see the track drying up too much in this qualifying session. And then in 2nd place is Ben here, but he is in the lane, and Christian here will be wanting to try and find himself up another couple of positions, because he so far has been the class act for the LMP2 field. He's gone 3 pole positions and 3 race wins, and I am sure he would want to be keeping that trend alive at the moment, but it does not seem to be looking that way. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get himself up further in the field. Unfortunately, though, it looks like he has called it quits with only a few seconds left of this session, and that may be it, because in 10 seconds time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be seeing the GT3 field come out for their qualifying session. Are any of them already lining up in the lane? It looks like a few of them may be lining up in the lane already. How is this one playing out for the field? And here they go now. Out of the pit lane comes the GT3 cars. So this is the second part of qualifying now. The Hypercar and LMP2 cars have had their shot to try and get themselves a pole position, and at this moment in time, it is for the Hypercars Mohamed Colombo on the pole position with Steve Lewis on the front row alongside him. And then for the LMP2 cars, you're going to have Matt Frost on pole position, and with Ben Vintner on the front row alongside himself as well. And unfortunately for your championship leader and the driver wanting to go 4 pole positions in a row, Christian Canero, has not been able to do so. He is qualified in 3rd position. So there has been, and that's a spin for Greg Brock. We saw this on the outlaps for the other drivers as well in the Hypercar and LMP2 field. It is a very tricky conditions out there, and so mistakes are going to be of aplenty in this especially. We saw the big issues were coming out of this corner just here, and that is the exit of the Mistral corner, turn 7. So we've definitely seen that the conditions are less than ideal for these drivers, but they're going to have to make the best of it if they would like to get the pole position. This is going to be where bravery and wet weather skills will come and play triumph for these drivers, and it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be able to do that for all of these guys in the LMGT3 field. And it's going to be Harry Smiles. He's going to be the one to set down a lap time on the fly here. So he wasn't the first to leave the pit lane. It was indeed Greg Brock who was the first to leave the pit lane, but we managed to see his little oopsies on the outlap, and so Harry Smiles has now inherited the driver who will claim the first lap time here for this LMGT3 field. So we're actually going to ride on board for this one. We're going to have a look at the comparisons between the Hypercar when we were riding on board with Steve Lewis and how the conditions fare for a lower powered and less grip LM GT3 car. So let's have a look and see how this one fares for himself. We're only a couple of corners away now. This is the penultimate corner of the circuit. So now coming up to the final corner, the tightest corner on the circuit, that's turn 15. And so let's see what a lap looks like on board the BMW here in the LMGT3 class. This car is an absolute beast. It's got 590 horsepower with a 3-litre turboed straight 6 engine in it, and it weighs about 1,300 kilos. So it is heavy, but it is damn quick for sure. So let's see how it goes. You can see there, using all of the tools that he's got available to him to be able to navigate those corners. It's very tricky on the exit there of turn 2, because the track really falls away from you and it really drags you out towards that curbing. And as all of us would know, the curbing is ever slippery into the wet weather conditions, and I reckon this wet weather is actually getting worse. I'm looking at the reflections on the tarmac, and I don't recall seeing that many reflections in the LMP2 and the Hypercar qualifying just a moment ago. So this is going to be interesting to see what lap times these guys can do. They're going to be a little bit off the LMP2 and Hypercar field lap times here in the qualifying session, but with these conditions, is it going to be a massive jump as well? Because this could play a massive role, because you've also got another driver who will be wanting to try and reclaim a pole position, because he didn't get it the last time around in Spa-Francorchamps, and that is of Tyson Robbs. And I'm trying to see if he's even in the field at the moment, because his name is not appearing on my timing leaderboard at the moment. So we'll have to see if maybe he's going to be a late arrival, but your championship leader at the moment does not seem to be in the session. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well for Tyson Robbs. But Harry Smiles at the moment, he's sitting second in the championship, just 32 points adrift from Tyson Robbs. So this could be a very crucial round for himself if it is indeed Tyson Robbs is not racing this weekend here in Paul Ricard in the French land. This is so Harry Smiles at the moment has done 2 purple sectors, and at the moment his sectors don't look to be as if they've been eclipsed. At the moment it's Ryan Norwich who's got the best first sector time with a 39.9, so you can see 2/10 better than what Harry Smiles has been able to accomplish, but I don't think anyone else has actually eclipsed Harry here in the second sector. No, I'm sorry, I said that too soon. Ryan Norwich also with a best middle sector as well. So how is this lap time going to fare for Harry Smiles? He goes to the top of the LM GT3 field, but let's ride on board for the rest of the lap here for Ryan Norwich, and he goes first by some margin as well over Harry Smiles, 7/10 of a second. So that is going to be quite the gap that they're going to have to find here in this session for these drivers here. So let's see how this one plays out. They've got a little bit of time here to go. They've got 4.5 minutes left of the session, so they might be able to get 2 more flying laps in, with a 2:23 being the best lap time so far here in this session. But Ryan Norwich is currently on your provisional pole position, with Harry Smiles in second. We're on board for the entirety of that lap, and it seemed to be an alright lap, but obviously 7/10 of a second can definitely be found more. And then you got Alex Tonkin, who claimed pole position in Spa, so he's definitely a driver with plenty of pace in that Lamborghini, and he needs to pick up the week just a little bit, because he's nearly 2 seconds adrift. He's 1.928 away from a provisional pole position, so he's got a handful of lap time to be found if he wants to get himself onto the front row at least. He's still over a second away from the front row, so a bit of lap time to try and find for himself. So let's see how that one plays out. Nick Hill has just jumped up the standings just a little bit there, up into 7th position as well for himself, and so that was a pretty good lap time from himself. He's 2.7 away from pole position, but 0.3 of a second away from getting himself a P6 taken away from Lachlan Andrews. So let's see how that one goes, but Harry Smiles will be rounding out the last couple of corners here. He's in the final sector, so how's this final lap? Sorry, he's probably actually going to be able to get maybe 2 more laps in, because the cutoff is going to be about the 2:30 mark if he wants to be able to go for yet another lap as well. So let's see how this one plays out for himself. Currently sitting in second position. He's got 7/10 of a second to find. He's not too far away in the first sector, only a couple of hundredths away, but he's lost a little bit of time in that middle sector. He's lost 0.3 to Ryan Norwich. But how's the final sector going to go? That is going to be a big sector if he's going to be able to gain a bit of time on him, and you can see immediately getting off the traditional racing line to try and get off of the rubber that's being laid down. And how's that lap time for him? He's now only 0.4 of a second away, so that was a good improvement for himself. But is Ryan Norwich going to be able to respond to that one? It's 0.4 of a second in the pole position at the moment, and he hasn't been able to improve. He was down in the first and the second sector, but he did improve in the final one, but it wasn't a big enough improvement to gain on his current lap time of a 23.450. So there's going to be a bit of a game of cat and mouse here, and at this moment in time, I reckon that is going to be the final. These are going to be the final lap times here, and I'm cutting it to Alex Tonkin just because I don't know if you saw in the background of the shot, there was a massive tank slapper here for Alex Tonkin, and very good driving to be able to save that one, and that is going to be definitely something that's going to hinder his lap time just a little bit. But let's actually have a look to see how much time he's lost in the first sector, and it's nearly a second. So a huge moment for himself here in the first sector. So that's thrown away this lap time. So hopefully he's going to be able to make it around for another lap, but with 1:30 left, it's going to be close. But back now to Harry Smiles, because he is going to be the next driver in the front lot of these guys to really try and put down another lap time. You can see though the first sector isn't really there, and the middle sector, he's brought back a lot of lap time in the middle sector, because that's only 100th, nearly just shy of 200ths away from what your current pole sitter of Norwich was able to pull off. So he is on a good lap here, is Harry Smiles, but did that first sector hurt him? And at the moment, considering he's in the final sector, I reckon he's going to have enough time here to maybe go out for one more lap. He's got 50 seconds left on the clock. Is that going to be enough time to greet the checkered flag and try and go again and maybe tidy up that first sector, because being nearly half a second away, that's just going to kill your lap time. And so let's stick along with this and see how this plays out. Half a second down in the first sector, only hundreds away in the middle sector. He's only got one more corner to navigate, and is he going to immediately jump off that racing line like we saw the last time he went on through? It doesn't look so. Oh, he does, and just a little bit later on than he did last time. How's this lap time fair for himself? He was only 4/10 of a second away, and he remains 4/10 of a second away. But how is Ryan Norwich going to go now with the remainder of this lap? He's only got the one more corner to go. He's got a little bit of traffic though in front of him. So how's this going to affect his lap time? You can see what his sector times have been at the moment, and with a lap time of 2:35, I'm going to say he is now done here in qualifying, and especially with the traffic right there. So at the moment, Ryan Norwich is on your provisional pole position, but at this point in time, it looks like Harry Smiles is still the only one amongst your top few that are on a lap time here, unless Jonathan Eaton is also on a lap time, but he's just ahead of Ryan Norwich here. So I'm not too sure if he actually made the flag, and I'm going to say he hasn't, based off the factor that he has pulled off the circuit, and so has Ryan Norwich pulled off the circuit. So Harry Smiles here has got a clean track in front of him. Is he going to be able to snatch away the pole position after the checkered flag has fallen here in a very wet Paul Ricard? And you can see the conditions ever getting worse as well. So if he's able to find any lap time whatsoever, that's going to be a huge prop here to Harry to be able to find it. But no, he's going for a spin, so that's going to be the end of his lap time, unfortunately, which hands the pole position to Ryan Norwich here. Harry Smiles, though, will hold on to a front row start here for the 1 hour sprint race we've got here coming up at Paul Ricard. So it's a very interesting qualifying session that we have seen. Mohamed Colombo taking the pole position in hypercar with Steve Lewis on the front row. Matt Frost on the pole position in LMP2 with Ben Vintner in the front row as well in the LMP2 cars. And then Ryan Norwich and Harry Smiles makes up your front row in LMGT3. We're going to do a quick ad break here, and we'll be back for race time.
Forms and expertise in getting the best gear. Sensational TV has proudly partnered up with Speed Nation. It is New Zealand's go-to destination for high-performance sim gear. They also stock the best and biggest brands in the game, from Thrustmaster, Motor Racing, Next Level Racing, Sparko, Turtle Beach and more. And whether you're looking for the ultra-responsive racing wheels or pro-grade flight controls, immersive audio or rock-solid cockpits, I'll tell you what, Speed Nation has got it all. They also carry other trusted names like Butt Kicker, PT Actuators, Wheel Stand Pros, Gen Ace, Spectrum in the remote control field, and also Collective Bind. So every step and part of your setup is covered, from complete racing rigs and premium flight packs. We here at Sensational TV, back in Speed Nation, to deliver the gear that takes your experience to the next level. Fast shipping, trusted brands, unbeatable quality, and I'll tell you what, Speed Nation has it all. And as an excellent gift for all of our viewers tonight and members out there of Sensational TV, and if you're trying to get into racing, go to the checkout, buy some stuff off Speed Nation, because if you buy any full price product on the website, enter the code SIMSATIONAL, that is SIMSATIONAL. Oh my God, I can't even speak. And you will get a 10% discount off your end cart price. So go in there.
10%? 10% did you say, Zachary?
I did say 10%, mate. I did not say 5. I did not say 4. I said 10.
Wow.
And welcome back. We are nearly set for a race start here, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look at how the field is going to play out here for today's racing. You see the conditions have improved just a little bit here. It looks like we may be on some dry tyres, but it is Mohamed Colombo and Steve Lewis on the front row in the hypercars, and then it is Siramana and Robert Mitchell on the second row. Chris Donnelly and Ricky Packham make up your third row of the grid, with Peter Wool and Lee Perkins rounding out the fourth round of the grid. And then it is Fernando and Nando Latanzio in P9 and P10 to round out your hypercar grid. And then for the LMP2 field, it is Matt Frost on the pole position ahead of Ben Vintner to round out your front row. Then it's your championship leader of Christian Guerrero and Paul Russell on this next row. Then Phil Rando and Jay Rees make up the next one. And Matthew Marsh and Sam Austin make up the fourth row of the LMP2 field, with Dean Davids rounding out the LMP2 field. And then we get to the LMGT3 class, and it is Ryan Norwich on pole position with Harry Smiles. We saw Harry try and go for that final push lap, but it didn't work out in the wet weather conditions. Then there's Jonathan Eaton, Lachlan Andrews on the second row, Nick Hill and Alex Tonkin. Alex Tonkin is your pole sitter from the previous round. Ben Collins, Martin Glastonbury, Lloyd, Greg Brock, Jackson Hammond, Sam Johnson, Jose Ellis and Aber all round out the final few parts of the field here. And so we're getting ready now for a race start for the 1 hour sprint here at Paul Ricard. So let's take a look at the race start here for this one. It's going to be ever interesting for this one, and it is going to be very close to green flag racing, which has got me very excited for this one. It is proving to be very interesting. We've got a shaken up field thanks to the wet weather conditions we saw in that qualifying session just a moment ago, and it has dried out absolutely beautifully here in France. So we're on for a race start. They're at the penultimate corner, but they've just got to navigate the final corner here side by side before we can chuck a green flag out and get ready for 1 hour of action here at the Circuit de Paul Ricard. So this is going to for sure bring up some controversy, I think, because we've got a lot of very tricky corners out here, mainly naming turns 1 and 2. It's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers can navigate the circuit. And we are green for racing in the hypercar field, and you can see there immediately it is Mohamed Colombo able to gain and get the legs on Steve Lewis, and he is unchallenged into turn 1. Still goes a little bit wide though, and look in the background though, because it is Lewis up against Siramana. So how's this one going to play out? They're side by side, and they're still going to try and go side by side. No, Steve Lewis just manages to get ahead, but there's a lockup in the background from Chris Donnelly. How's this one going to play out? You can see running a little bit wide is that BMW, and he's now got the Ferrari of Robert Mitchell right up behind. And in the background, that was a spin for the Peugeot, I think it was. There was a it was one of the Peugeots, and it's Latanzio who has gone for a spin and is now fallen behind all of the cars, including all of the LMGT3 cars. So this has been a terrible race start for himself in the Peugeot. But back to the front of the hypercars, because Colombo still leads the way. You've got Siramana in the background. Is he shaping up a move? He goes down the inside. How is this one going to play? It's a very tight complex of corners here. He can't get the move done, and so he has to sit in third position once more. But let's take a look now at the LMP2 field, because it is kicking off here, because the LMP2 field is currently battling it out with some of the cars in the hypercar class that have had issues in the background of their race start. And you can see that the Toyota of the Toyota of Fernando, they're still trying to make his way through. But here's the battle for LMP2. So it's Matt Frost taking the lead now, with Ben Vintner running wide and falling off the corner. But is that Sam Austin going for a spin? And it is indeed Sam Austin, and he's right on the exit of the corner. Here comes the LMGT3 cars. They only just miss him. But we have also got a battle on at the moment for the LMGT3 cars, because look at this. Harry Smiles has taken it away from Ryan Norwich. How's is this one going to play out? It is absolute chaos here on the opening lap here at Paul Ricard. And so all of that I spoke of as the race was about to get underway has absolutely come into fruition. And look at this battle between these cars. And you can see this is also going to be very awkward because these guys will be not wanting to give an absolute inch between their rivals. But they have got a massive issue at the moment with the fact that they have to let some of those LMP2 cars back on through because they can battle on as much as they want, but they've got to be respectful of the LMP2 cars coming through, and vice versa with the LMP2 cars. They don't want to be ruining a perfectly good battle between another category, and all the drivers after Spa-Francorchamps have definitely been given the warning about the driving etiquette with trying to get through on the blue flags. You can see it's getting a little bit messy up ahead at the moment for Ben Wittner, who's currently in second position, and he's right behind that is Matt Frost in the lead of the LMP2 class. And you can see they're still battling it out here with the hypercars, because if you take a look at the overall lap records for in real life, this is as well for these cars, there's only about 7 seconds separating the LMP2 and the oh no! And there's a massive incident there. That is Fernando. That's gone for a bit of a spin there. He's got it all caught up with another car. I reckon another car was also going for a bit of a spin. I thought I saw a second one go off the screen, and there was another car also going for a spin in the background. Who was that? It was Paul Russell that's gone for a spin, locked the rears, going into the corner, and he went backwards. This braking zone is catching everyone out. This is absolutely mental stuff. He has to now try and rejoin safely here in amongst all of the LMGT3 cars. So this has been absolutely terrible for Paul Russell. So he's going to have to make his way back through this field as well. But another driver who's fallen behind is Phil Rando. You can see him here in the back of shot trying to get his way back through these LMGT3 cars, and that is, I reckon, Greg Brock, who has just gone for a spin, and it is indeed Greg Brock going for that one. So he is not having a good day. You saw the spin in qualifying on his outlap, and now he's gone for yet another one here in the race. Now falls down to 11th in the standings for LMGT3. He's 29th on the road, and he has got some time to find if he wants to catch up to the back of the field, but to the front of LMGT3 here, because look how messy this is, because you've got the LMP2 car of Christian Guerrero trying to make his way through. I've just noticed Christian here has also not had the world's greatest start to this race. He's fallen down to 5th. He qualified in 3rd position, so he's had a bit of a messy first couple of laps here to round out the opening here of Paul Ricard, and now finds himself making his way back through the field, but he's done so relatively cleanly here. You can see the hypercar of Lando Latanzio right in front as well. And so Latanzio, we saw on the opening lap, go for a spin at this moment here. Now this corner here, these are very tight complex of corners. This is the hotel section of the complex, and so going for a spin there has now put himself down in 10th position for the hypercars, but 15th overall on the road, and he has to get through a few more LMP2 cars if he wants to catch up to the back of the hypercars. But Harry Smiles still leads the way ahead of Ryan Norwich, and that gap has just expanded out just a little bit by about 0.6 of a second. So a little bit of an air gap there between those two. And up and down the field, taking a look back into the hypercar field, the battle for second is on here. Half a second separates Robert Mitchell here and Chris Donnelly. So this will be one to keep an eye on, because both of these drivers will be wanting to try and take advantage here of a couple of drivers missing in this hypercar field and get themselves some really good results for this race here this evening. And taking a look here at the championship standings as well. So Chris Donnelly is actually in second position of the Hypercar AM championship as well. So he will be wanting to try and get himself a good result here. And you can see we've now got a bit of a train starting to form as well, because Ricky Packham and Steve Lewis have also joined forces here. And so it is 3 BMWs versus a Porsche here in this train of cars. But Siramana currently leading the way by over 2 seconds. So he has taken the lead and absolutely been able to drive away so far in this race, which has pretty much played beautifully into his hands here. So with 53 minutes left on the clock, he has got it all to play for in this race as it stands. And at the moment, you know, all the battles up and down the field have already kind of spread out just a little bit because the orders had just got so messy with the amount of incidents that we saw in the opening couple of laps. With drivers spinning, so there's a lot of drivers not in the correct position at the moment, and this could be a possible overtake here for Ricky Packham in the other BMW. How's this one going to play out? He pulls out of it. He doesn't want a bar of it this time around. He didn't think he was close enough to be able to make the overtake, but putting himself off like that, look at this, has put Steve Lewis right on the back of that BMW. So it's very much a case at the moment in this hypercar field of you try and go for a move in this train, you may find yourself now vulnerable to the car behind. It's a very tricky position, especially for Ricky Packham at the moment, because it's either do you attack Robert Mitchell just in front of you, or do you have to keep your eye on the mirror and make sure Steve Lewis doesn't get by you. And we know Steve Lewis is definitely a very, very fast driver. We saw him right at the pointy end last time out at Spa-Francorchamps. So he is going to be a driver also wanting to take great advantage here, and also just take a notice, Mohamed Colombo, who was on the pole position for the hypercars, has fallen down to 6th position. So he's currently 2.5 seconds further behind Steve Lewis here, and here he comes now into the final corner. So he is going to be wanting to get himself further up the field and trying to reclaim those positions that he lost in the opening couple of laps here. So we'll have to try and work out what happened to him on the opening lap, because if I recall correctly, he was unchallenged into the first corner. So we're going to have to work out how that one has played out. But back to the battle here, because Ricky Packham is still finding himself in that really tricky position of what do you do? Do you go defensive or do you go into the attack? That is going to be a question to work out. But Christian Guerrero here, I said he needs to be able to get himself further up the field if he wants to make it 4 wins out of 4 races so far, and that is exactly what he's doing. He's even trying to defend there from Latanzio, trying to make his way back through the field here after going for that lap 1 spin. So Latanzio is now on the back of the hypercar field. He's still got 10 seconds if he wants to get inside the top 10, but now he has got himself through all but one of the LMP2 cars. Only Matt Frost is the other LMP2 car that is ahead, and you can see there Latanzio also cutting that corner there. So going in a bit deep, he's definitely driving with a bit of red mist on, wanting to try and catch up to the next hypercar. 10 seconds up the road is Fernando, which is currently your P10 at the moment, and so you can just see the pace that Guerrero here has got. So definitely maybe the wet weather wasn't playing into his favour. Qualified 3rd, had a bad lap 1, fell down the order, now finds himself in 2nd position. But this is where Matt Frost is, so he's got a massive amount of time to find. And Matt Frost currently also holding his own very nicely in 8th overall. So played his cards absolutely beautifully to be able to get himself up into this position, and but now does find the pressure of having Peter Wool in the Peugeot hypercar sitting directly behind him and wanting to get himself by that. But Peter here is going to be trying to get himself into the down the inside, that is, of Matt Frost here pretty cleanly. But it looks like Frost has actually got really good pace, because he is pretty much gapping Peter Wool at the moment, and you can see not really able to find some time. I would say the straight may be the place where he's going to be able to get that position back away from Matt Frost and claim 8th overall on the road. But that LMP2 car in the hands of Frost is looking very, very quick indeed at this moment, and does have a lead in class by, what's that? That's nearly 20 seconds already. So it is absolutely a huge gap, and you can see Wool trying to go for the move, but he hasn't been able to get it done. Frost gave him the space. Wool just not able to be able to make the move stick. Now gets the move done, going into a hotel, and there's actually a few cars now in the lane. Christian Guerrero is one of the drivers in the lane, and so is Ben Vintner. So I wonder what is going on here with some very early pit stops. Is this a strategy playing out, or have we got some differences in tyres? You can see the hypercars, everyone is actually currently on the wet. So is it possibly time for some dries? So let's stick with it and see what it is. Marsh is on the mediums at the moment as well, so he's going through now into P5. But I just saw Vintner was actually now exiting the pit lane. So what tyres has he been able to go onto? We're going to have to switch the tower around if we want to see whereabouts his tyre strategy falls, and we'll have to wait. Granera has definitely gone onto the mediums. He was also the other driver that went into the lane. Vincent also on the mediums. There we go. So we've got some pit stops happening now for some tyre changes here for the compound. So at the moment, your top 5 in the hypercar class is on the wet weather tyres, and then your top 4 in LMP2 is also on the wet weather tyres. But let's keep an eye here on Matthew Marsh, because he is the first driver in the queue on the medium compound tyres, on the dry tyres that is, in the LMP2 field, and he's only 8 seconds now behind Paul Russell, who's in 4th, but he's also 44 seconds at the moment off the race lead, so he's not really too far away. And also just noticing as well, Ricky Packham and a couple of other cars in the lane for the hypercars going on to that would be the medium compound tyres as well. So that looks like Colombo also in the lane to try and get themselves onto a fresh of dry tyres, and your race leader Frost, he's in the lane now too. So it is definitely seeming to be the crossover point for all of these drivers to get themselves onto the dry compound tyres and get themselves a bit more lap time here. So will these tyres also be able to make it to the end? Because with 46.5 minutes of racing left, that's a pretty decent long way to go around this circuit. This circuit's also go wide onto the painted lines. That stuff is very adhesive to and coercive, I guess it would be as well, to pretty much act as a gravel trap. So get onto that stuff. It eats at the tyres, so they've got to be very careful to make these tyres go to the end. So that's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. But he's now back onto the circuit, and how much time has he lost? Because at this moment in time, he's being listed as 3rd in class, but he is sorry, he is also still sitting 12th on the road. So it is looking very interesting, and here we go. We've got some action in the LMGT3 field as well, with Harry Smiles jumping into the lane to also do a tyre change here to get himself onto the tyres that is necessary. But your race leader of Ryan Norwich in the LMGT3 class, he is still on the wet weather tyres. So let's take a look to see if there's any sort of undercut gain for Harry Smiles here, because he was the race leader going into the pits, and so we'll keep an eye on that one and see how that plays out. But back to Matt Frost here, because he's not going to be too far away from rounding out this lap here, and we're going to be able to see if he's going to gain a heap of time here, because Rees and Russell have stayed out for yet another lap time here. And they're heading now into the final sector. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out. Thank you very much for the super chat. Unfortunately, no Shuey here tonight, but I'm sure Chris or Zach will be very much of the opinion they'll 100% do a Shuey. They've got a video online of them doing a Shuey for a subscriber celebration, so make sure you check that one out. But unfortunately, no Shueys here tonight, but it is going to be, is it pit stop time for Jay Rees here? No, it looks like he's going around yet again, still on those wet weather tyres. Matt Frost, though, you can see how much time he has been able to gain here, and he is really crawling up to the back of Paul Russell now, who is in the lane now, actually. So Paul Russell does come into the lane. Rees has gone around for yet another one. Matt Frost, though, will eventually take the lead back again of the LMP2, because coming into the lane, he had something ridiculous of about 20 seconds that was, but the field at the moment very much jumped up with the different pit cycles going on. How is Ryan Norwich here going? Because he leads the way in LMGT3, but crucially, the driver who was leading, Harry Smiles, has already come into the pits a lap early. So how is this one going to play out with any sort of undercut? Did Smiles come in early, or has Norwich absolutely played it to perfection? So let's see how Harry Smiles here goes, because you can see the car definitely looks much grippier, and I was actually surprised that the cars were even on the wet weather tyres to start with, because the track visibly didn't look too wet. But being if the track was still a little bit greasy, that would definitely explain all the chaos that we saw in the first few laps, which definitely plays into the story here. Word from the stewards, though, so Mohamed Colombo has now fallen down the order here. He has received a 15-second time penalty for causing a collision. So that may be a bit of the story as to why he fell down the order on the opening lap, and we missed that one. But now let's take a look to see how Harry Smiles is going about this, because he's now gone out of the first corner. He's actually gone very deep into the first corner, whereas Ryan Norwich coming out. He's actually pulled the overcut on this one, so he has played this very well to get onto those dry compound tyres. So he has gapped Harry Smiles now by about 4.5 seconds. So that's been a very well executed pit strategy. Does that now play into the hands of Ben Collins, who now finds himself in the lane, in the lead of the LMGT3 class. And he has got a pretty healthy 17 seconds. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to it, but he may be able to find himself a net positive, because it looks like going out for those extra lap or two has definitely played into the hands of how things have played out so far here tonight in Paul Ricard, with the mixed weather conditions that we've been facing at the moment. At the moment, the race leaders in all three classes are still on wet weather compound tyres. So you got Siramana leading the way, did take the lead after there was the incident with Colombo, who has now actually received that 15-second time penalty, which I just spoke of before. Still leading the way ahead of Chris Donnelly. Both of those guys on the wet weather compound tyres. And is he coming into the lane yet? No, he goes out for yet another one. So maybe he doesn't think that there's a bit of a lap time difference as of yet. And changing, or does he know a little bit with the weather forecast, because there are a few greyish clouds around the place at the moment, which could mean there might be a little bit more weather on the hand coming soon. But we'll have to see how that one plays out. Still with another 40 minutes left of racing here, so plenty of time to play out. But Chris Donnelly, the man I just spoke of, is now in the lane in his BMW and has put on the medium compound tyres. So he will now probably lose his second position here, because Peter Wall will now cross the start finish line. We saw him trying to get his way back through the LMP2 field, and now finds himself in second position of this race, and actually is on the medium compound tyres. So maybe that's why we saw him struggling early on in the race as well, because he would have been on the mediums still to go, and so now finds himself in a second position. But are those tyres going to be able to make it to the end? Because in this series there is no compulsory pit stop, but if you can't make it to the end, the pit stop is more than welcomed for the drivers. And so far in all the races that we've seen so far, in Imola, your season opener, all the drivers tended to stop very late, with about 15 or 20 minutes left of the race to make a pit stop onto some fresh rubber. In Silverstone, we had mixed conditions, so everyone pitted. Some pitted actually twice for a stop from dries to wets, and then wets back to the dries. And then last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, everyone kind of pitted about the halfway to 15 minutes to go sort of mark. So it will be interesting to see what Peter Wall here is going to be able to do, because your race leader, Siramana, still on the wet weather tyres. How's he going to go? Is he going to be going into the lap, into the pit lane? Because he's now coming up onto the back of some traffic. So if he doesn't want to have to deal with that, this lap would be a pretty good lap to box for the dry tyres, if he do pleases so, because you will probably lose less time going into the lane than you would the lap traffic. And that is exactly what has happened. Your race leader is Siramana, now in the pit lane for this one here, and he is going to be trying to get himself hopefully still out in the race lead when the pit cycle all finishes here. But is Peter Wall, is he going to be able to take this one away? Because here he goes, that's the pit entry. He has just gone by then, and he is now going to try and find himself going around the final corner here. That's turn 15 of the circuit here, and he is going down the start finish line, and he will take the race lead here in Hypercar. So wasn't a fantastic qualifying from Peter Wall. Now finds himself in the lead just through pit strategy, and that is by starting on those medium compound tyres. Latanzio now finds himself into second position. We saw him backwards on lap 1, so fantastic recovery driving also on the medium compound tyres. So maybe started the race on those mediums. But Siramana here now trying to fight it out with this LMGT3 car, and that is the leader of LMGT3, Ryan Norwich, that he's trying to get himself by, and does get himself by. So Norwich can now get himself into a bit of a rhythm here. So your top 5 in Hypercar now all on the mediums, but Wall and Latangio They started on the medium, so let's see how this one plays out for them and if they have to go in for a very late pit stop to make it to the end. But in the hypercar, LMP2, Rees here, still on the wet weather tyres, so I wonder if he is thinking long game here and trying to extend out these wet weather tyres and see if he can make it a one stop and go from wet weather straight to dries and only have to do the one stop. But he does have to bear in mind that Matt Frost is right behind, so he is going to have to try and either defend or waste as little time as possible and not defend and just let Frost go, because Frost is on the dry compound tyres, which seem to be the tyre of choice. The entire field, bar just a couple of drivers, now on the dries, and you can just see the traction that Frost is able to get on the exit there. Is he going to be going for the move here down into the Montreal chicane? It's going to be a very brave move on the brakes, because in the straight line, despite the difference in tyres, there's no straight line difference here between the cars. Down the inside he goes. Is he going to be able to get it done? It looks like on the brakes he's actually got the performance. And that is now Matt Frost back into the lead of LMP2 before the pit cycle started. Remember, it was 20 seconds that he had a race lead of already, only about 15 minutes into this race. So he was absolutely flying out there here in Circuit Paul Ricard. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out in the pit cycle for Jay Rees. And he doesn't have Matthew Marsh too far behind as well. He's just got himself by Ben Collins that was in the LMGT3 class, to get himself now ahead of that and to make it so then he can now go for Jay Rees in second position. 7 seconds is the gap between those two. Your top 5 in the LMGT3 though, they are all on the midi compound tyre as well, with Ryan Norwich pulling out a beautiful pit strategy and actually jumped Harry Smiles, dropping back just a little bit, 4.5 seconds. Now your gap between your race leader and second position in LMGT3. Here is Ryan Norwich on your screen right now. They're dealing with a bit of traffic at the moment as the hypercars start to filter their way through more of the traffic now. Nearly everyone has come in for the pit lane, so the timing screens aren't all jumbled up at the moment with everyone on different strategies. So he's going to have to watch in his mirrors just a little bit, but not because he's going to have Harry Smiles right behind. And actually, I think Harry Smiles may have gone for a little bit of a spin, because that gap has jumped out from 4.5 to 11 seconds. So a bit of an incident there for Smiles, and now well and truly out of range to maybe try and get a move on your race leader in LMGT3. For Jay Rees though, he's in the final sector, so is he going to be coming into the lane this time around? And a word now from your race stewards, ladies and gentlemen, Rando in the LMP2 class, he's currently 7th on the road and is currently sitting at 17th overall as well. He's got a 10-second time penalty for an unsafe rejoin, so he has had an off and probably joined in the midst of a battle or blocked someone on his rejoin. So he's copped 10 seconds for that one, which is unfortunate for himself. Currently sitting 7th in class, 17th on the road. But back to Jay Rees now, because now he's actually going through into the final sector, now getting himself by and very wide to avoid the LMGT3 car that is right there as well. So that is going to maybe put a track limit violation to his name, but we'll have to see how the stewards have a look at that one, if avoiding action is safe enough for him to take that one. But now, is he going to pull into the lane, because he's still on those wet weather tyres? And I think, according to my timing here, that I can see the only driver on the wet weather tyres. Here's the pit lane entry. Does he go in? Yes, he does. He is in from second position, which is now going to hand second position to Matthew Marsh as he now heads around the final corner of Pont and now down the straightaway, getting himself by an LMGT3 car as well. So he now moves up into second position. He is 10 seconds away from Frost. So Frost is actually, through the pit cycle, lost a little bit of his lead, because remember, that was out the 20 seconds, and now finds himself only 10 seconds, so the pit cycle cut his lead in half in the LMP2 class. So that hasn't played out exactly to his plans, but with the entire split strategy situation that we have had, that has meant that the field has spread out quite massively as well. And at the moment, we don't have too many battles on the field, but Nick Hill here is definitely all over the back of Martin Glastonbury here to try and get himself up inside the top 4 here. The gap between the two is only 0.6 of a second. How is the slipstream going to go? Because the Porsche is generally pretty good in a straight line in the real life and in simulator mode as well. So is he able to close the gap? It was 0.7 heading onto the straight. How's the gap when they hit the brakes? It's still sitting at 0.7 of a second. Will remain at that 0.7 as well. But you can see how deeper he was able to go on the brakes, and actually had to kind of square off the corner a little bit. He had to turn into the apex a lot earlier than he probably would have liked to try and make sure he could make the corner. But that braking zone actually did help him in the net gain of things, because it's now to 0.6 just between these two. So it's not the ideal braking zone technique. And oh, that's a big moment for Hill. And he's gone well off. Is he going to find the fence? He does find the fence. Holy moly, that was a massive tank slapper for himself. How much damage was on the car? Because that would have been a massive impact on the Armco there. As good as those painted lines are at stopping the cars with how rough they are now, much they grip the tyres, you can see how much speed he was able to take through there, and he just went all the way to the fence. I'm going to say he lost the rear end in the dirty air of Martin Glastonbury just in front of him, and unfortunately overcorrected it, threw himself into the fence on the other side of the circuit. And now he is going to go for another lap here, so I'm going to say the car isn't as wounded as we may think. So let's actually jump on board here with Martin and see how things are looking on board that car for himself. Because is the steering straight? Is everything looking to plan? We're going to find out in these next couple of corners here as he goes through turns 1 and 2 of Veneri. So it looks all good through there. So I actually think, considering he hit the wall fairly square on, I'm going to say he may have got away with that one. The car's definitely going to be wounded in some way or another, but definitely seems to have got away with it, and is continuing on, but now finds himself with 8 seconds if he wants to catch up to Jonathan Eaton here, who's currently in his 5th position that he had just lost in the LMGT3 class in the Aston Martin, and now is trying to close onto the back of Martin Glastonbury, who we just saw the battle with before that incident coming up soon at turn 10. So that was a big moment in the race, because that was on for a top 5 finisher there for Nick Hill. Unfortunately, it's not going to play out that way for himself here today, but Christian Guerrero, your championship leader, he's trying to make it 4 race wins here. Is he going to be able to make this move stick on Matthew Marsh? The answer, yes. Gets himself now up into 2nd position, but he has to find now 12 seconds if he wants to catch up to Frost, who so far has definitely been the driver in LMP2 to beat, got the pole position. And now your championship leader, Guerrero, is definitely looking to try and hunt him down, especially with a little bit of clean track right in front of him, despite that LMGT3 car right there as well. But look in front of the LMGT3 car, who's now getting out of the way. There is no one in front, so he's got plenty of time here to try and absolutely floor it and get himself up a few positions here. He'll go to the inside of the LMGT3 car. It's not going to fight it. Well, at least I don't hope it's going to fight it. Going into turn 1, and there he goes. Now he's got a bit of clean track to try and chase down Frost. And now Steve Lewis, we've seen him in a few battles up and down the season, and now he finds himself all over the back of Robert Mitchell once again, because they were in a bit of a train before the pit cycle. Was Robert Mitchell and Steve Lewis here, but that was a big mistake from Mitchell to find himself now going very wide, and that hands the position to Lewis. So Lewis now into 6th position on the road, Mitchell into 7th, and here comes your pole sitter of Colombo. He's right onto the back of this one as well. He is going to be trying to get himself through these guys, because after receiving that penalty, he has fallen well and truly down the order. And look how tight it's getting at the moment with a couple of lap cars in the way as well. There's an LMP2 car in the mix for this one, and they're going to be trying to get it. Oh, that was very close to rear-ending someone as well. So The driving etiquette at the moment between the blue flags is still a little bit dicey at the moment, so they're going to have to try and clean things up a little bit in there, and that was a brake lockup as well from the LMP2 car as well in amongst that. But look at all the traffic they've got to deal with as well, and due to the traffic, this was something that was spoken about at the last round of Spa-Francorchamps, because there's a couple of areas of the circuit where you just, even if you're a hypercar trying to get by the LM GT3 cars, there's no space to be able to get around. So these lap cars are definitely going to play a part, because there's going to be a few drivers at the moment trying to get themselves past lap cars, but they can't, and it could ruin things. But here we go. We have got here a four-way battle, ladies and gentlemen, for your race lead in the hypercar class. How is this one going to play out? You've got Latanzio leading the way, but he's got Peter Wool all over the back. So Wool took the lead, remember, through the pit stop, because he started on the medium compound tyre, so he hasn't had to do a pit stop yet. Everyone, though, around him, except for Latanzio, has had to do a pit stop, so the drivers behind him on much fresher rubber at the moment in this race. But is Wool or Latanzio going to have to make another pit stop here? Are those medium tyres, despite being in greasy conditions at the start of this one, are they going to make it to the end? There's still 27 minutes of racing left, and that's a dive down the inside by Siramata. How's this one going to play out? Gives him the shove on the exit, and that's going to open up the door as well for Donnelly to play his part. And here comes Packham as well. Packham's played his part into this now as well. So we've got 5 cars spread by about 2 seconds here, and it is absolutely on. So Donnelly is going to make his way around Peter Wool here, and Wool is falling down the order very quickly here. But is Donnelly going to be able to now attack the back of Siramana? This is going to be a very interesting battle to play out. It's Peugeot at the front, 1 and 2, and followed by BMW, and there goes Packham in the background. He's now trying to get himself past the other Peugeot as well, down the inside at the very tights. Turn 6 this is, and Wool goes a little bit wide there, and that allows Packham to finish the move. But here's the battle now out in front, because Latanzio, he has got the other Peugeot now, Siramana, all over the back of him. The slipstream is going to be in play. How is this one going to play out into the biggest braking zone of the lap, down the inside? And Siramana looks, can't do it, but look at the GT3 cars now right in front. This is going to play a part, because on the exit they're not going to be able to put the throttle down as quickly as they would have liked, and now they try and get themselves past the GT3 cars, stay well out of it. And you can see as well Peter Wool falling off the back of the pack here for the race lead. Latanzio holding his own very well, but is Siramata going to try and go down the inside here, the very tricky braking zone, because you have to keep trail braking going through the corner as you turn the wheel, and it can cause the car to run wide, and he's going to be able to get the move done using all the track available to himself, and he is now taking the lead. Latanzio falls down to second, and next on the list to try and claim a position away here from Nando Latanzio is going to be Chris Donnelly, and we saw a beautiful move that he pulled on Peter Wool here at this corner here. It was a down the inside dive, and is he going to be able to pull something similar off? No, he doesn't, but he is going to be looking to try and get the exit, and he's definitely going to be able to get an exit here, despite, well, especially with the improvement of the grip that he's going to have, considering he's done the pit stop for the wets to the dries. Is he dare going to look at turn 1? No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it, but this is well and truly kicking off here at the moment here at Paul Ricard. 25 minutes of racing left. Still plenty of action to come here in this one. How is he going to go? Oh, he's going to go down the inside in this section. He doesn't do it though. Thinks better of it. Latanzio has been defending beautifully at the moment, and despite now falling a second away, and that got a little bit messy there. Rear end loss from Latanzio nearly caused Donnelly to crash into the back of him, or cause a little bit of a touch up there, and that would have meant another spin there for the Peugeot. But how is this one going to play out now? Because we've seen tyre grip matters going into this braking zone here of going into turn 8 and 9 of the Montreal chicane. So he looks to the inside. Is he going to be able to pull it off? No, he can't. Even with the superior grip that he's got on those newer tyres, he doesn't have the braking to be able to get by the Peugeot of Latanzio, so he has to hold station in third once more. How is this going to play out? It is a massive battle currently playing out here at Paul Ricard. Ricky Packham is also right there. He's a little bit away. He's 1.3 seconds behind, but he's going to be well and truly on to pick up any scraps, but how is this going to play out? Because the gap is ever getting closer. He looks to the outside. The inside hasn't worked for the last few corners. He's going to get the switch back. Is he going to get the run? Is he going to be able to get the run and then throw it back down the inside? No, he hangs it around the outside. He's on the blue stuff. That's the stuff to try and stop you from going into the wall. And so he has now lost a massive amount of time. The gap is now 0.7 of a second between himself and Latanzio, and that, as I said, now brings Packham into this one. Latanzio, though, a little bit wide at the final corner. How's this going to open things up for Donnelly? So it is all kicking off at the moment, and it is extremely exciting racing. Does he look to the inside at turn one? It's going to be a big dive. He's going for it. He's going for it. He's got the inside line. There's contact between the two. Latanzio has to go to the inside of the circuit, and he is going to lose not one but two positions, because Packham has also been able to go through. Words, I'm sure, are going to be said about that one, because that was side-on contact between Donnelly and Latanzio. Donnelly able to keep going on. He's now got second position, but Latanzio's lost two positions with that bit of contact, then had to take to the inside of the circuit to make sure that he didn't cut it too much. And now more LMGT3 cars playing into this one. But how's the pace now by Ricky Packham? Is he going to have the pace to try and get himself up into second position? What's the pace like for Latanzio? Does he have the pace to try and at least stick with these guys and claim himself a fourth position? There is so many questions in the hypercar field, at least in the hypercar field, that need to be answered, and it is going to be such pivotal roles as well in the championship, because at the moment, so your championship leader heading into this round for the Hypercar Pro was Chris Fraser. And where is Chris Fraser? He's not racing this round. He's not in it. And so he is not going to be scoring any points. And he was tied with Mohamed Colombo, who currently sits in sixth position on the road at the moment. And he's trying to make a bit of a recovery drive as well, after receiving a small penalty. Here he is on the road, so he's about to head through the final sector here, and he is on a drive at the moment. He's 3.7 seconds away from Peter Wool in fifth position, who's trying to navigate some LMGT3 cars here in the final sector, but it is all to play for at the moment, and they were leading ahead of Eric Chandra, who is another driver who is not racing this weekend. So two of your top three in the Hypercar Pro Series at the moment are not racing Paul Ricard, so that is going to really switch up the championship heading into the next round at Sebring in just 2 weeks' time. And that's a spin for your race leader. Your race leader, Ryan Norwich, has gone for a spin, nearly wiping out an LMP2 car in the meantime as well. Luckily for himself, he's got 5 seconds of a lead.
What happened, Mr.
To be able to go before that one. Harry Smiles hasn't been able to capitalize for that one. And then even then, he has lost just a little bit of time, because it's now only 4.3 seconds that he has lost. There is Harry Smiles. He is now within the same camera shot of Ryan Norwich, so that has been an absolute massive moment in this race, and Ryan Norwich is going to be absolutely seething at the thought that he's made that mistake and lost in that time. But the lead, 4.5 seconds at the moment, so he's still got a little bit of time to play for. So it is going to be absolutely on for the moment, and thank you very much, BZR, for the super chats. It is a very much appreciated for the streams, and makes the streams better and bigger for your viewing, so it is very much appreciated from everyone at Sensational TV. And words from the stewards as well. So Greg Brock in the LMGT3 class has received a penalty, and unfortunately for himself is already in the pit lane, so I'm going to say his day is done, and he has just received 10 seconds, so it's not going to play too much of a issue for himself here in this one, but the battle is still well and truly on here in the hypercar world, because Ricky Packham is still all over the back of Chris Donnelly here, and you can see they are actually closing up to a lapped car coming up shortly, and there they go past the lap car. That is the LMP2 car. So
what happened, Mr. Drifter?
And then also, it is also another, we've got another warning here coming from the race stewards from car 44. That's Greg Brock once again, so he's received a warning for an unsafe rejoin. So I'm going to say he's had a bit of an off somewhere, and unfortunately wasn't able to rejoin the circuit as safely as he probably would have liked, and has not only his race come to an end, unfortunately for himself, in the pit lane, in the garage, that is, he's also got a 10-second penalty now hanging over him, and he's got a warning for his driving standards with the rejoin. So it hasn't been a great day in the office for Brock in the LMGT3 class, but a position change that has just happened that you may have noticed on the timing is Colombo now back inside the top 5 after clapping pole position earlier on. Had a bad lap 1, had a time penalty for causing a collision on the 3rd lap of the race. Has worked his way now back inside the top 5. And this has been a pretty good drive. He's now got 5 seconds. 5.5 seconds, that is, to find to get himself now up to 4th to try and claim that position away from Latanzio. And so where is Latanzio compared to Colombo? There he is. They're both in the same sector as well. So Latanzio is just about to head through the final corner complex that is. So he's got this right-hander, then it's going to switch to the right where the pit entry is, and then the final corner will be there. And there is Colombo. He is right there heading through the same sequence of corners as well. So he is also, sorry, it was 5 seconds. That gap has already closed down to 3.4. So he is absolutely flying. He is Colombo in his Alpine hypercar. So things are going to get interesting. But in the LMGT3 class here, we've got Ben Collins. So Ben Collins momentarily had the lead of the GT3 class here with getting himself through the pit cycle, held the lead for a lap or two, finds himself now 6th in the class and all over the back of Nick Hill, who we saw had that moment in the wall. And I think that car is a bit wounded because he has been losing time to the cars around him. But actually, now looking at things, Mark Luxembourg is all on for now. Nick Hill has got 10 seconds for Nick Hill to try and get, if he wants to get back to Martin Luxembourg, if he wants to try and restart that battle that we were watching before he made that mistake at turn 10. And thank you very much for the super chat, Brendan. We see you plenty in the Wednesday Cup. Thanks for watching the LMU series here on the Sunday night. It is a slog indeed. It is hopefully for the final round, the season finale for Le Mans. We'll have Dino in the combox as well, so we'll see how things play out. But at the moment, with this battle that we have got, it is really heating up in the LMGT3 class. So Ben Collins is actually losing ground now to Nick Hill. So I reckon Hill is definitely on a late race charge here with only 15 minutes left in the race. So he is going to be trying to get himself back to Martin Glastonbury. And here he is. He's all over the back of Alex Tonkin. We saw the pace that Tonkin had in the last round at Spa-Francorchamps, claiming that pole position in the Lamborghini. It wasn't a great race for himself, though. He wasn't able to hold on to a race victory. The victory went into the hands of Tyson Robbs, your championship leader, who is absent here tonight. And Glastonbury will be looking to try and claim himself a podium here in the final 15 minutes of race time that we have got available to us here at Paul Ricard. And this will be very interesting to see how it plays out. I'm currently keeping an eye on the timing because you can see the gap for the race lead in the hypercar class has now fallen to less than a second between Siramana and Chris Donnelly. So we have got battles up and down the field everywhere that you'll look. This place has absolutely turned on the racing here tonight for the ASA Le Mans Ultimate Sprint Series. So it is absolutely brilliant stuff that we're watching here at the moment, and it looks like Donnelly is all over the back here of Siramana because look at the gap. It was a second. It went down to 9/10, and for a moment there it was about half a second. So I reckon here we're probably not going to be too far away from a move here for the race lead because it looks like Donnelly has got the pace over Siramana, and then only a 2.5 seconds behind is Ricky Packham, who is also a driver who has shown they have a massive amount of pace. And I've also just noticed Mohamed Colombo with the pace that we saw him gain on 2 seconds for the only in only the one sector. It was Colombo now ahead of Latanzio. That puts him now up into 4th position. And thank you very much for the super chat there. It is greatly appreciated here on the streams. And we're taking a look here at Chris Donnelly trying to get the lead here, but the gap gap has fallen out to over a second once again with the lap traffic, and so thank you very much VASG for the super chat. Very much appreciated to make these streams bigger and better into the future. We've got plenty of cool stuff coming up on Sensational TV, and the battle now between Ben Collins and Jonathan Eaton is starting to kick off. So Ben Collins looks like he doesn't quite have the pace to stick with Nick Hill, and Hill is very slowly gaining on Alex Tonkin now. Actually, what's happened to Martins Glastonbury? I've just noticed Glastonbury, he's fallen down the order. So he was in third position. He was holding on to a podium, and he is now out into 8th position and driving slowly. It looks like he may have an issue. So that's
Mr. Drifter.
and it's let Collins go through as well. So something has happened here for Martin Glastonbury, and thank you once again, BZR, for another super chat. You have been absolutely on it tonight, and it is greatly appreciated. And it is all kicking off now with only 12 and a bit minutes of racing left, but look how close the race lead here is in the hypercar class. And look at this, Ricky Packham, he has also played his hand into this. Is he going to dare try and get the position away from Siramana? So Donnelly has actually taken the race lead. We missed that while all the drama was going on with Glastonbury, and down the inside they go. They're both on a really tight line despite it being a flat corner, because they had the LMGT3 car right there for company. But so Siramana, very late into the race, he's lost the lead to Chris Donnelly. Donnelly's going to look to try and drive away here from Siramana, but Siramana's in one of those tricky positions, because does he look ahead? Does he try and attack and take the race lead back once again? Or does Ricky Packham and try and put the pressure on Siramana and make him look in the rearview mirror? It's such a tricky position to be for Siramana here. Does he look frontwards? Does he look in the rearview mirror? What does he do? How does he play his cards? Does he know he doesn't have the pace to go for the race win anymore? Or is he going to have to play defensive? At the moment, it's nearly a second now between himself and the lead, whereas it's only 0.3 of a second between himself and Ricky Packham. So what is going to happen here? How is second and third going to play themselves out? Because they can battle all they want in this last 11.5 minutes, because they've got 9 seconds to Mohamed Colombo, but he is absolutely flying at the moment. Now, his best lap on Colombo is a 1 minute 51.2. Ricky Packham, the man on screen, we said he's had fantastic pace this race. He's best lap. Oh, and that's very close for Siramana, trying to get himself past the lap traffic, and that is going to ruin his run now, going down the straight. And is he going to now find himself under attack from Ricky Packham? Because Packham is going to have the run, he's going to have the slipstream. How is this going to play out? Siramana, look how defensive he's gone. He's gone all the way to the white line on the other end of the circuit. Now to the outside goes Packham in the BMW. Does he hold it around the outside? There's a tiny little bit of contact with the direction change, but Packham now gets himself up into second position. Siramana has to sit down for third position. And that was a very intense sequence of corners. And as I was saying just before that battle kicked off, so Siramana, his best lap time, 1 minute 52 flat. Ricky Packham, 1 minute 52.4 is their best lap times. Mohamed Colombo on the charge, only a corner behind, wanting to try and get a podium after getting the pole position, serving a penalty, and having a pretty torrid lap one, opening sequence of corners to fall down the order. He is now only 6 seconds away. There's 10 minutes left of racing in about 5 seconds time. So there's definitely the time, if he's going to be able to put in these lap times that are about a second quicker than everyone in front of him, it's going to be very close if he's actually going to be able to catch up to these guys here for getting himself onto a podium. And you can see, I don't think the battle is over just yet, because Siramana is able to hold on. He's only half a second behind, so all it takes is a mistake from Ricky Packham for himself to lose that second position that is here in the hypercar class. But also, only 3 seconds ahead is Chris Donnelly, your race leader. So there is going to be plenty to play for here. Nothing is set in stone in the ASA Le Mans Sprint Series. And you can see only 0.3 of a second behind. He's probably a little bit too far back to try and go for a move here. But with the slipstream, he can definitely try and close the gap up just a little bit into the back of shot. There it is, the ever menacing, dark-looking Alpine of Mohamed Colombo. Now only 4.5 seconds behind, so Colombo is driving up to these guys at an absolute rate of knots, and there he is in the back of shot there. There's a LMP2 car though in between the two of them, so you'll have to dispatch that car, which shouldn't be too bad. And while all of that was kicking off, we've had a change of lead now. In at LMGT3, Harry Smiles is taking it away from Ryan Norwich, who is only 0.7 of a second behind, and that has happened very recently as well, because look at that, the timing hasn't even updated yet on the side of the cars. It's still saying Norwich is in first position, so how is this one all going to play out between these two? Norwich has definitely had the pace since going onto the dry tyres. Smiles has been not too far behind. What are their best lap times like? It's Harry Smiles about 0.6 of a second away. Best race lap time at the moment. We've seen a mistake from Norwich already. He went for a spin at that very corner just there, turn 2. So maybe was there another mistake? Because last time we checked, there was 4 seconds between these two guys. So to go for another spin is definitely about a 4-second loss. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one and see how that one plays out, because the battle between Ricky Packham and Siramana is still absolutely on, but the gap has fallen out now to about a second between the two of them. And look at this, Colombo, the gap was 4.5, it's now 3.5. He is absolutely on at a rate of knots here, is Colombo. And if Siramana is able to hold on to the back of Packham here, he is very well on a shot here with 7 minutes left of racing to try and get second position, which is not going to be a bad recovery drive at all for Colombo here. And he would take the championship lead away from Chris Fraser, because he was tied in the championship lead heading into this round. Chris Fraser, not racing tonight, is absent from the series this round, and so Colombo will be taking the championship lead from Chris Fraser if it was to play out like this, and he's going to extend that lead if he's only able to get up to second position with Siramana and Packham up ahead, and that gap now over a second between the two, and the gap between Harry Smiles and Ryan Norwich has actually extended out massively once again. So you can see that Porsche looking a little bit twitchy coming out of the corner just before. So I'm wondering if the tyres are now starting to go off for Ryan Norwich, despite him actually going for the overcut on Harry Smiles. So maybe the Porsche hasn't been looking after its tyres a little bit better than probably what it should be, or maybe there's a bit of fuel saving mode in as well, trying to go to the end on the one tank. So a lot of possibilities for this one that's going to play out, but after leading for some margin, Ryan Norwich now 6 seconds away from Harry Smiles, who is currently in the race lead on lap 1. But look at this, because this is really getting close now. It's 1.4 seconds between Colombo and Siramana. How is this one going to play out? The gap is now under a second. That is how much time this guy is able to find, and I reckon he is going to dispatch here Siramana pretty quickly. But we've seen Siramana has been very good on the defense. He was able to hold up Packham for quite some time, as too was Latanzio. Let's give Latanzio some credit here. He's down in 5th position at the moment. He's got Steve Lewis all over the back of him, and he's fallen 20 seconds behind the battle for the top 4. But he's been holding his own despite not stopping at all so far this race. So he's done a fantastic job at the moment to be able to hold a 5th position. Is he going to be able to hold it ahead of Steve Lewis, who's only a couple of tenths behind? That is going to be something we'll have to find out in the dying stages of this race. And you can see the pace difference, that Steve Lewis has got. He can't get it done under the brakes there, but the gap has gone now to only half a second between Colombo and Siramana. How is this one going to play out? Because now they're in the really tricky section. There's not too many places into this final sector that you can go for an overtake, so it's going to be absolutely crucial for these guys to play it cleanly and pick that in time to perfection, really, if they want to try and make a very good overtake, a demanding overtake that would be. Now only 2 corners left of this lap, and as they cross the start line, there's going to be only about 4 minutes left of racing, because Chris Donnelly is now crossing the start finish line now to complete yet another lap. So He's crossing the line with about 4 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. You've got Ricky Packham currently in second position, and he is a kind of a little bit in no man's land, but he's got two and a bit seconds in front of him, but only 1 and a bit seconds behind him, so he's not really feeling a heap of pressure. But the driver in front of Colombo here, Siramana, will be feeling the pressure, and at the moment you can see that Latangio is still holding that 5th position, so the Peugeots definitely seem to be a very good car to be defending in at this stage. Everyone who's been in the Peugeot has defended in this race to absolute perfection, and it's been fantastic viewing for not only myself in the commentary box, but for all the viewers in YouTube land. So it has been a fantastic evening so far of racing. We've got 3.5 minutes left of racing, and nothing is set in stone, because now the gap between these two is only 0.3 of a second. How's it going to play out? Is he going to go for the dive under the brakes? He's got the run. He doesn't go for it though, so he's going to maybe try and go for the exit. And you can see Siramana going for a much tighter line as well, so that's going to compromise his exit just a little bit. And you can see that because Colombo now 0.3 of a second away, so he is going to be trying to get himself into a good overtaking opportunity. The gap now only 0.2 of a second. How is this one going to play out? It is right there, but he's too far back. He can't go for a move. We've seen a couple of overtakes going through here earlier on in the race, and it's not played out for his liking as of yet. So they're going to have to get around this LMP2 car and continue on the battle, which is absolutely beautiful to watch. Steve Lewis, though, has now got himself by Latangio, and has absolutely started dropping him immediately. So the tire's definitely going off for Latangio here in the final part of this race. He's got 2.5 minutes left to try and survive, and he's got 10 seconds behind him to Robert Mitchell. So he should be able to hold on to this 6th position here. But look at this, the gap is really starting to close up. It's now less than a second between Siramana and Packham, but Colombo is all over the back and looking to the inside. Is he going to get the move done? We've seen a bit of drama here into this first corner, but he has got the move done very nicely into the first corner. Now can set his sights onto Ricky Packham in the remaining 2 minutes of this race. He has got a second to find and to overtake. It's one thing to close up the gap, it's another to overtake, as the great commentators say in the past, and it is definitely advantage Colombo at the moment, because look at the gap he's already been able to pull. He's already got 0.7 he has to find to Packham, so he is closing this up at a great rate of knots. Let's jump on board with him actually and just see what the car behavior is like for this hypercar, because look at the time he's able to find, at least under the braking. Look at the different line he's able to take. He turns the car in and the car responds. That car is absolutely working into an absolute treat, and he has definitely got the pace on Ricky Packham at the moment. The gap half a second between the two, and as they get ready to cross the start finish line, there's not going to be too much time for them to go for more battling, because they're going to pretty much start the next lap, and then that lap will be the final. But is that a little bit of rain, or is that just a bit of crud on the windshield that I see? I think it's just a little bit of crud on the windshield, but you can see the car behavior of Packham is not looking very healthy. He is struggling in that BMW up ahead, and for good measure, he has got a bit of traffic as well to deal with. So it is definitely advantage Colombo. Is he going to get... Oh, there's a bit of contact, and there's a spinner as well just in front of him for the LMGT3 card. One of the AMGs has gone around for a spin, and all of this battling has brought Siramana back into it. Because look at this, he's all over the back of Colombo. How is this all going to play out? Because they have to get through these GT3 cars. Colombo doesn't go for the dive on the Mercedes, just in front of him, but he's going to have to try and get by soon, because look how much time he's now lost. And this is going to be the final lap of the race as well. So it has not played out well for Colombo here. He has lost time. It's now over a second. It's a Ricky Packham if he wants to try and claim some time. But I've just noticed as well, in the pit lane is your second place in LMP2. Christian Granero, your championship leader, who was trying to claim the race win away from Ben Vintner. He has not been able to do so. Is he going to be able to hold on to at least a second position? Because here comes Matt Frost. He's now at the pit entry, and he is now going to be rounding the final corner. Christian now to the pit exit. How is this all going to play out? And I reckon that may have been a splash and dash right at the end for fuel, because with the changing conditions, it would have been very difficult to judge how the fuel load would have been. And here we go on the pit exit. It's going to be so close between the two, and Frost just gets Christian Gennaro, but Gennaro is going to be, he's got one lap to try and claim second position back ahead from the rest of the guys in LMP2. And Christian Donnelly at the moment, it has been in a very good class of his own. In the background now, looks like one of the LMGT3 cars also was going for a spin, so the tyre wear definitely playing a factor here in the closing stages of this race. But the clock has gone down to 0 here in France at Circuit Paul Ricard, and around the final corner, turn 15, and a run to the line. It's going to be Chris Donnelly to claim the win here in the hypercar class, and he has done a beautiful job. That's his first race win of the season, and that also makes it our 4th different race winner here in hypercar. Ricky Packham already in the pit lane in second position. Did he actually make the flag to claim that second position? Because here comes Sierra Madre. Yes, they've all claimed the flag, so they've all done very well, and so those guys have done well to do that. Here comes Ben Wittner. He's now gone across the line to claim the win in the LMP2 class ahead of Matt Frost, who is still defending for his life to try and stay ahead of Christian Gennaro. So this one is nowhere near done. And how is this one going to play out? You've got one more prime overtaking opportunity left to go, and it's the very next corner. Is Gennaro going to be able to set himself? Oh, sorry, they've still got a couple more corners to go, actually. And so they'll do this right hand, and now they'll flick it to the left and then back to the right for the final corner. And is he going to line up a dive bomb? It looks like he's going for it. There's a bit of a brake lock up, but there's a little bit of contact, a little bit of door banging, and they're going to go for the drag race down the line. It looks like Frost is going to be able to just hold on to it. Is Gennaro going to have the slipstream in finals to try and take this away at the death? No, he can't. The gap between the two is only about a 1/10 of a second. So fantastic stuff. And Harry Smiles is also just ahead of those guys, taking the race win in the LMGT3 class. And so he has taken the win ahead of Ryan Norwich, who has had maybe a mistake or two, which now cost him a race win. And Nick Hill, despite being in the fence, we saw that happen. He was in the fence at turn 10. He had a giant tank slapper, threw it into the fence. Nick Hill will take a 3rd position here at Paul Ricard. So it's been a fantastic drive. He has stayed absolutely in it. You can see all the battle scars down the right hand side of the car from going into the Armco barrier. So he has kept his head held high despite the off, and he'll cross the line to claim 3rd position. So fantastic stuff from Nick Hill in the Porsche. So Porsche claims 2nd and 3rd in the LMGT3, and that has been quite the day here at Paul Ricard. It has been non-stop action from start to finish, and it has been your top 3 in hypercar. Chris Donnelly ahead of Ricky Packham, and Siramana rounds out your top 3 in the hypercar. Colombo in the end just not able to claim a podium, and in the end, actually on that last lap as well, so it was a drag race to the line. Now looking to the intervals, drag race to the line between Siramano and Colombo. We've missed it. It was half a 1/10 between the two, so unfortunately we've missed that one. Your top 3 in the LMP2 was Ben Wittner ahead of Matt Frost, and then your championship leader Christian Gennaro was unable to make it 4 from 4 tonight, but he will still claim 3 wins so far this season, and Ben Wittner becomes the 2nd race winner so far in LMP2 this season. Harry Smiles takes the win in LMGT3, with Ryan Norwich taking 2nd position and Nick Hill in 3rd position for the LMGT3, and this is really going to shake up the championship. Tyson Robbs absent, championship leader in LMGT3. This will definitely change things, because the guy he was leading, so 2nd in the championship, Harry Smiles, takes the race win. That's going to close up that championship battle. So it's all to play for. We're going to take a week's break for a mid-season break, but we'll be back the following week for Sebring for another 1-hour sprint race. I have been Peter Clark in the commentary box. So if you enjoyed that one, please make sure that you do the like and subscribe. It goes a very long way for the channel. So like, subscribe, and get notified for our future streams. I have been Peter Clark in the commentary box, and As always, till next time, keep it flat out.
Sensational TV YouTube channel. Don't fucking miss it.